All right, hey everybody, Doug here with the LincolnList.com. We've got something new and exciting for everyone starting every Friday from here on out. What we're going to do at the Lincoln List is we're going to have happy hour with the Lincoln. This will chance for us to share our favorite libations, talk about our war stories as traders, go back through the previous week and discuss the good and bad of trades. And then we'll focus our attention on the upcoming week and discuss some of the opportunities there. All of this is just available for you to help us one-on-one grow as traders so we all can continue to share ideas and continue to grow and do what we love to do for a living, which is trade stocks. Now, the thing I want to make clear about drinking is that if you do drink, please drink responsibly. This is not going to be a video where I get 3 sheets to the wind and start rambling on about stocks. I've been drinking whiskey for a long time, never once got drunk off of it. It's all in moderation. So please, if you drink responsibly. Now, as we move forward though, what I would like to do is I would like to take this format to something that's live streaming like YouTube or Google or something like that. So give me your feedback and comments on how you like this or what you think about this in the box below. If not, just send me an email at support@thelincolnlist.com. As I said, I would like to take this to a live format. I'm going to do the first couple via video. We'll see how it goes. If it goes well, we'll move to a live format. If it sucks and nobody wants to watch it, then I'll just crawl back into the hole in which I came. So what I'm going to do is start it out by finishing off the last little bit of remnants I have with this Port Charlotte. Now, if you remember, someone's been following me for a while, I picked this bottle up when I was in the Isle of Islay, Scotland last year. So it shows you how long it takes to go through a bottle for me. But the story behind this, and this is not a Scotch class, but scotches and the flavor of scotches are known for where they're distilled. And the Isle of Islay is known for its smoky, peaty flavored scotches, which is what I love. So that's why I chose to go to that island. And it's north of London, about, I'd say 7-8 hours north of London in the UK. But anyway, the story with Port Charlotte is that this distillery had burned down several years before and they weren't making any whiskey. Well, a neighboring distillery called Brewed Lodge took over and started distilling this. And one of the things that's cool about when you visit these distilleries in Scotland is that when I first went there, I thought, I need some money because I'll have to pay for each one of these tours I go on. Or you do have to pay for tours, but whiskey tasting is what I'm trying to say. Well, the whiskey is free. So when you go into these distilleries, you just sit down, it's like, oh, I want that one, oh, I want that one. And they just give you free whiskey. Now, of course, there's a limit to how much of that you can drink, but that's a nice little feature about actually visiting the distillery itself. But anyway, the story is about this Port Charlotte is they had this monstrous cask. When you go into Brewed Lodge, they have this big cask and this little fountain at the end coming out of the cask, like a water fountain, like a little water fountain at a water cooler. And you just put your glass under there and tap it, it comes out, you can just keep going back and forth. So I love the taste of the whiskey because unlike the other ones that come from the island, the Ardbegs, Lafroigs, Lagavulins, they tend to have an aftertaste that's a little strong. So for somebody that drink whiskey the first time, it'll burn your throat. But this is a really smooth flavor. Now, sometimes people ask me, how do you get rid of that? Well, you can water down the whiskey a little bit to make it smoother so it doesn't burn your throat. Whatever you do, don't put whiskey on the rocks. I think that's disgusting. Because what happens is when the ice lays in there, it tastes good at first. But then the ice accumulates or the water accumulates, and by the time you get done, you're just drinking slush, like swamp scotch water or something. It's gross. Just put a little soft water in there or some water. Maybe just flick a little bit in there or a droplet. And you should be good to go. So that's the story behind Port Charlotte. If you ever get a chance to go to Scotland, it's not just about whiskey, trust me. It's one of the most picturesque and epic landscapes I've ever seen, and it was a great time. Now, we're going to talk about the month, now, because I'm doing this one, and it's now the end of the month. It's the end of September. We're starting the last quarter of 2016. I would review September as a month that was kind of dull for me. I made about 12.5K, which is about half of what I'm used to making. I can't complain. 12.5K is still 12. It's still good income. But I'm used to making a little bit more. And there's 2 reasons I think for that when I look back, is that there was, when I first started out the month, I should say, I was in Alaska. And Alaska was one of the things I wanted to do. It was a bucket list trip. I'd been to Alaska before, but I had this bucket list in my mind. I wanted to get out there, like into the wild, get out in the wild, go off grid, do some camping and all that good stuff. And I finally just made time to do it. So I scheduled this trip around the very beginning portions of September where you had Memorial Day, so I could get the extra day. So I took a Friday off before. Then I had Saturday and Sunday off, of course, Monday being Memorial Day. And then Tuesday, I just took that day off, and then I came back on Wednesday. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but I think since I started the Lincoln List 6 years ago, I haven't had 5 straight days off. I've done a lot of traveling, visited a lot of countries, but I haven't taken a lot of time off. And I really wanted to just disconnect. So I got me this RV, went way out off the grid. And the cool thing about Alaska, for those who's been there, you can camp anywhere, really. So as long as it's not private property and posted, you can just pull over the side of the road and camp for 14 days. They don't care. They've built all of these nice little roads that go down to glaciers and these awesome looking lakes. And you just camp. So the first couple of nights I spent at a glacier, which is awesome. I mean, you're sitting there, you're just camping right next to this glacier. It's a really great experience for those that love nature and wildlife and all that good stuff. It's a must-do. So I'm glad I got the chance to do it. The problem is, when I came back to work, or just coming back on that Wednesday, was one of those, I just did not want to come back to work. I know it sounds strange to sometimes to people. You run a service and all that kind of stuff. You love trading, but there's these moments you really need to disconnect, and I hadn't done enough of that. And I was really just getting into the rhythm of Alaska, and then next thing you know, I'm working again. And the problem that I was having while I was working is that if you're in the city of Anchorage, Alaska, it's just like any regular city. They've got Sam's Clubs, Costco's, Starbucks. You can just pull up and get some internet. But I happen to be a distance away from that. So once you get out there a little ways and it gets remote, the only chance you have to get internet is to go to an RV park. So I was using RV park internet, which was, let's just say, it wasn't very good. My computers kept shutting down. I kept getting kicked off, kept freezing. The platforms wouldn't open up. You kept having to do it 2 and 3 times. I mean, the connections were really bad. And I shouldn't complain too much because when I first started trading in 1999, it was on dial-up on an Acer, so that was like the worst of the worst. It was still better than that, but trading has a lot to do with rhythm, and I was unable to really get into a comfortable rhythm. Plus, most of the time I was looking out my window, staring at a volcano or a glacier, like I said, so it was really hard to say, oh, I should be trading stocks, but I did it anyway. The second part was, it was my birthday during September, and, you know, I know you think I'm some studly 25-year-old, and I appreciate your comments, and it's really sweet of you, but I'm just a hair shy of 50 now. And when you're younger, birthdays are awesome because you have these monumental birthdays. Like for me, it was 16. You could get a driver's license in the state I lived in. Then it's 18, you get to vote. 21, you get to buy alcohol for the first time. These are like monumental birthdays. It seems like when you're young, you want to be older. You want to get out there into the real world. And then once you get out there, these birthdays just start clicking by. And then when you get to my age, a lot of older people will probably agree here, birthdays take on a whole new meaning. It's like you'll run into these birthdays every once in a while. I mean, it's good that you have them because you are still alive, but they do become kind of depressing sometimes because you stop every once in a while as you get older, like I did on this particular birthday. And you look back and things don't become about you. They become more about your legacy. You know, like, what will I be remembered for? What was I put on this earth to do? You know, have I done enough? When I was 25 years old, did I think I would be here? Am I where I needed to be? Am I where I wanted to be? And all those kind of things go through your head. And sometimes it's depressing because no matter what level you are at success in your life, there's always something back there that you want to go back and redo. Like you want to do over on. You made a mistake in a relationship. You made a mistake in business. You did something in the past that's still haunting you. Everybody kind of has that a little bit. So these birthdays, as they get older, not to depress people, but you know, they're kind of interesting. You stop and you reflect. So here I am in Alaska reflecting on this whole world, looking at glaciers melting, thinking about things like climate change, this whole earth, looking at wildlife and wondering, you know, what am I doing here? What's my purpose? If I were to die today, have I done enough? Have I passed on something to somebody else? Have I made this current generation, have I done something for them to make something better, and so on? So enough of that rant. But one thing I want to talk about on that, just to finish that note off, is this is one of the things we experience as traders that I'd like to talk about, is that we're judged by our performance. We look at our performance every day, and that determines as to whether or not we feel in our hearts we're successful as traders. So we're judged on that. A lot of times when we're messing up, we think we're doing something wrong via the market. But trading itself is a lifestyle. It sounds tacky, but I want you to follow me on this. Because a lot of our success in trading has to do with our overall mindset. So if we have exterior problems such as relationship problems, financial problems, or family problems, legal problems of some sort, if you have those things that are looming overhead, it distracts the concentration that you need to become successful at trading. Or your performance can be hindered by having those outside influences. So when I say trading is a lifestyle, I mean, if you want to be a great trader, you have to embody the whole entire thing. That means taking care of your health, because it sucks to trade when you're sick, eating right so you can maintain that health, getting to bed early because it sucks getting up, being tired and drawn down. You're going to lose concentration with each one of those factors. So consider a professional trader as very much like an athlete. It's not just about the actual performance of the event, which for us is trading, but it's all the outside. You need that support system in your life. You need to get to bed early. You need to eat right. You need to do all these things in life to increase your chances of being a successful trader. So keep that in mind. Now let's move on and talk about stocks, opportunities, and all that good stuff. Well, I would have to say that the big talk for this week at the beginning was the Fed. And there was a lot of talk, are they going to raise rates? And this has been going on and on forever. And it seems like, outside of Brexit, the whole year's been defined as when's the Fed going to raise rates again? And there's always some topic, and most of the times you'll learn as trading is most of it's garbage and BS, and it's just noise. You don't even need to mess with it. I felt in my mind there was just no way that we were going to see an interest rate increase before this goofy election. Or why would you raise rates prior to the election? It just doesn't make any sense. So if there is one, most likely you're going to see something here coming up in December. The election will be done, and we'll know who the winner is and all that kind of good stuff. And people will have a chance to process that. Well, also this week, something had come up a little bit different, which was DB Deutsche Bank. And it's been a long time. In my opinion, the market's been super bullish, really since 2012. It was bullish before that, but you're really strong from 2012. And there's a bit of complacency that comes with consistent bullish markets. And really over the last year, you've seen more and more volatility pulled out of the market. More people getting aggressive, more money put to work. Really similar to what we've seen in 99. Now, I'm not going to say that's where it's going back to. I'm just saying you get that complacency in the market. Well, when the DB story came out, it was kind of the first taste of people going back to what it was like in 2008 when banks and financial institutions were under scrutiny that they may go under. So just hearing that, again, was something that would impact this market because, people that's been around a while, it's been a long time since we heard that story. So hearing something about maybe a financial institution going under, it's a tough pill to swallow. You start thinking about 2008, the credit crisis and all that stuff. I'm not saying that this is that situation, but memories, people remember. And it was one of those things. And it did send the market into a little bit of a sell-off there on Thursday. And now we've rebounded on Friday. That will be the story as we progress outside of the elections going into next week is how does this DB story play out? Because as you know, the media, they're going to just continue to push that button over and over again. And you're going to hear a couple of conflicting stories as we already have. So pay attention to this. That's going to be the theme, I think, as we go further throughout the week. As far as individual stock opportunities, outside of what the market's done, there have been some great stuff, especially when we're talking about biotech stocks. There's been good and there's been bad. So one of the ones I want to talk about, which I really love here, is a CLCD. And we had kind of talked about in our trade room a couple of days ago. My memory's fading as I'm getting older anyway, but it seems like there's been a lot of single-digit stocks that have ended up being $30 or $40 stocks within a relatively small period of time. Even though the market's maintained a relatively even kill this whole year, we've seen a lot of big moves. For example, QUI, which I talk about, CWEI, this stock was $8 in April, all the way up to like 79, 80, somewhere in the 80s now, off the top of my head. Monstrous move, and we've seen a lot of them. We've seen big IPOs in like ACIA, IPOing at $25 or $26, if I can think correctly, going up to 120, TWLO following a similar trajectory. And now you have this CLCD, which is not an IPO, but this whole run, you had a little small run that started, I'll put my freaking glasses on, I can't see. I don't want you to think I'm wasted, cross-eyed. I just can't see without glasses. This whole run started like the last part of June, just prior to the Brexit. It was a $7 stock. Now this thing is pushing all the way up to hit 39 on Friday. Hit 39. I like this. There's two trades I see on this one. If you're going to short this stock, you got to short it off of parabolic moves. It's got to be stupid verticals. So like Monday opens up, you see this thing go 41, 42. That's where it's a short. Other than that, it's more likely a buy, because what you're seeing a lot as well this year is take a look at the chart on Friday. And what I'm going to do is go back through this and try to edit when I edit the video and put up the charts. But you'll see this similar move with a lot of stocks where it flushes first thing in the morning and then it rips and goes red to green. Now there's a reason a lot of traders will trade the red to green strategy, and you'll hear about it. The reason is when you see a stock that goes up a lot like this, people look for that first sign of weakness. So when they see that first sign of weakness that starts out red like this one did on Friday, all these shorts pile in. They're like, today's the red day. Well, what happens is it doesn't go down. The stock spikes. They get stopped out. Then Momo players come in and pile on top of it, and it creates this perfect storm, and you see something very similar like this where it drops, and then it just rips $4 or $5 out of nowhere. That's why you see a lot of traders trade the red to green setup. So never really short a stock in the hole, especially first thing in the morning. If you're going to do something that's at low a day, make sure it's built a pattern down at low a day, a bear flag, or it's got a triple bottom, a double bottom, or something, some level of support that it's breaking. Otherwise, you're just going to get sucked into this, and it happens all the time. And it's good to know that because you can make money by longing these things. So I want to watch CLCD, preferably like to short it, maybe actually get that red day in there. Another one is this Syna. I'm going to call it Syna, C-Y-N-A. S-Y, S-Y-N-A. I need another drink. So SYNA, I like this one as a long. You bounced off the 50 moving average here on Friday. You got some shorter term resistance at the 59s for the technical analysis people. I think if you can move above, we get a decent market of strength, providing we don't get some heavy sell-off or panic out of the DB issue. 59 cross or close above 59, I think you're going to see the stock try to make a move to 62, which was the recent highs. So keep an eye on that one. A little bit of a dirty chart. It's not so clean, but you do have some support at the 50. You got earnings coming up. You have to pay attention to that, but we're pretty clean for the next 2 weeks on this Syna, S-Y-N-A. A couple of really just battered stocks. One is TPX. And I've kind of discussed this before. I don't like dip buying as much as I like parabolic shorting. And the reason is because when you get a parabolic, where a stock goes up, it needs continued volume to go higher. But when you get a stock like TPX and it gets beaten up like this, you've got so many funds and institutions that hold this. They can't liquidate their position in one day, so they just sell it over the course of weeks. That's why you see it just continue to go down. Now, you saw a little bit of life. I tried this trade the first time and it didn't work when it first went down. I tried to pick it up on Thursday and it was just a dud for a breakout. So I just had to give up on it because these things can go down forever. But you're starting to lift up out of the shell here. I think the number I would look at right here for the short term would be 57 and 57.20, 57.20, 57.30. If you can start to move there, your next idea would be 58. 58 could really get this thing going. 58 could get on it. I wouldn't expect you to fill in the gap all the way back up to the 70s, but you could get a couple of day run. It's something that definitely needs to be looked at. And then OPHT. OPHT is another one. Like we've seen a lot of stuff in the bio space where you've had a mixed bag. You've had stocks recently, a lot of them, that have just had poor data, bad approvals or whatever it is, and they're just getting smoked. I mean, literally smoked. That's the danger with biotech, of course. But on the other hand, you've had a lot of crazy movements like PBYI. This thing is just a monster going up almost every single day. This one here was just directly with that. Argen has the one, RGEN, that's what I should say. RGEN had the news. This one was a side product of that. So it wasn't directly related to OPHT. But you got that sometimes the sympathy plays work to the upside. They also work to the downside. This one got really, really hammered. I just want to watch it. Again, you could have mass liquidation in something like this, but my hunch here, outside of the technical approach, is that this is a little bit, maybe a knee-jerk reaction here. This is maybe just, let's say, slightly unfair. I want to see if it's bounceable. I'm sure at some point during the course of the week that'll happen, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I have no idea. But I'm going to watch this stock. It's down a lot and it's on the radar. So I just want to see really how it opens up Monday and go from there. So we'll leave it at that. I think our first little video here, somewhat of a success. We got a few ideas, but briefly, just keep your eyes on DB. It's going to be a talking point through the whole week. You got CINA, CLCD, TPX, OPHT, a couple of the stocks that we're watching. For those out there that are struggling with trading or just kind of battling back and forth between, awesomeness and losing and all this good stuff, take a moment, visit thelinkenlist.com. We have a free trial to our live trade room. And one of the things I want to touch about the trade room, it's not a chat. You go to a lot of places, they're just offering you a chat. In our room, you see all the trades live on screen, and I think that helps you in a lot of ways. And one of those ways is you get to see exactly how a trader approaches the trade, because when I mentioned before, you have to embrace the whole embodiment of trading. It's more than just a hot setup. It's about psychology. It's about managing each trade one by one. It's about dealing with all these market fluctuations back and forth and all the drama that surrounds it. When you see that live on screen, you understand where the origin of that trade comes from, the way a trader looks at that trade, and more importantly, how that trade changes once it's made, because the bigger part of trading is not figuring out how to get in. It's understanding when you get out of the trade. That's what's important, because sometimes you let that trade turn into a loser. Sometimes you leave too much profit on the table. Sometimes you take a little bit of profit and it goes up a lot longer. So the exit of that trade is far more important than the entry of the trade. So when you get to see all this play out live in real time over and over again, you learn. You learn so much faster than somebody just speculated. We talk about our share size. Everything's laid out there right there for you, the trader. So you see it. It's not like hindsight trading where somebody says, oh yeah, I just so happen to have $10,000 of the shares. Now it's already at 40 or 50 cents. None of that garbage. You see it all live on screen. I think that helps you as the trader get to the level that you need and help understand how this whole entire trading process works. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. You guys have yourselves a great week of trading. As always, visit thelinkenlist.com, read some of our blogs, see some of our videos on YouTube and the rest. Leave your comments, please. Let me know how this worked out. I'd love to take it to a live screen format. Thanks for watching this video. Till next time, talk to you soon. Have yourself a drink.